Hi guys. So today I'm going to actually talk about something that's really sad and depressing. I went out with a group of coworkers and we just went out for coffee. And of course, when we went out for coffee, we ended up, talking, doing the gossip thing. And I found out through them, because I don't watch the news or read the newspapers because can't, that the school, the elementary school, Hoyoung Elementary, which is about a minute walk away from me. It's closer, way closer to me than my actual school is. I can see it from my apartment. A little girl actually died in that elementary school, which is really, really sad. And worst of all, it was her stepmom that killed her. She apparently had the stepmom caught her, or thought, no, didn't catch her, thought she had stolen money from her, and she obviously didn't. And it was something ridiculous, like, it was 2001. It was 2001, which equals out to $1.88 went missing from her house. So the stepmother's response to this was to beat her daughter so hard that she broke one of her ribs, or multiple ribs. The conversation was in Korean, so I only got bits and pieces, but broke at least one of her ribs, and then proceeded to drown her in the bathtub. So when they went and did like an autopsy and looked at her body, they discovered that every inch basically of her that would have been covered by clothing was covered in scars and bruises. She's in grade 2, which means she's 8 years old. And the big topic of discussion here that's being, disputed amongst all the teachers, is that not that she's guilty, because she totally is. It's just if the teacher should be held guilty, because the teacher didn't report anything, and she had suspicious behavior. She was wearing gloves in school to cover some of the bruises and scars. Who wears gloves in school? Like, clearly she's hiding something, but the teacher never took the time to figure out what was going on. And it's just a really tough time in South Korea for teachers, because they haven't fully ironed out how to do everything. And in the Korean culture, one of my co-teachers was telling me that in the Korean culture, what's your problem, you really don't, like, so your family's problem, you really don't want it advertised. You don't want help with it. You want to deal with it yourself. You want to keep it within the family. So teachers are really torn with, like, do I get involved in this other family? Because if it was my family, I wouldn't want people involved. Whether it was anything, yes, obviously, if you're beating your kids, you don't want people involved because you want to keep beating them. But with anything, your kid is struggling in math. You don't want anyone to know. You send them to a hagwon for math, an after-school program for math, but it's hush-hush. You don't want people to know about it. You don't, want that teacher to reach out and ask if your student wants help, because that's embarrassing. But that's just the culture, and that's what it is. If they have a problem, if, their kid's into stealing or whatever, they want to take care of it themselves. They don't want anyone getting involved. And what a lot of parents that suffer from, beating their kids do, if they get caught by a teacher, and the teacher reaches out and is like, hey, are you having trouble disciplining your kid? Like, do you need help kind of thing. They just move the kid to another school. Because as far as I'm aware, you can send your kid to any school if you're willing to pay the school fees and everything. Like, I know back home, if you are in a school district, you send your kid to that school, unless you send them to a private school. That's completely different. But if you're going to send them to a public school, you really don't have a say. It's whatever one is closest to where you live. And that's it. That you don't have a choice. You can't just pick up and move schools unless you pick up and physically move. But here they don't have to do that. They can just move schools and it doesn't follow them, because they don't really have forms for the teachers to fill out to send to the new school saying, hey, keep an eye on this student, I'm pretty sure he's getting beat at home. They don't have that here. So a lot of my teachers are really torn. A lot of the homeroom teachers that I know are really torn. They don't know how much to care, how much to get involved. They don't know how little. They don't want one of their students dying or getting hurt either. But they just don't know how to do it. And their hands are really tied. It's really awful. And I feel really bad for them. I'm very lucky. I'm not a homeroom teacher. So it's not my responsibility at all. If I do see something, there are so many people above me in the chain of command that I would need to tell. So it's really out of my hands. I feel really bad for them. It's a huge topic of discussion. I mean, it didn't even happen at my school or even really that close to my school. And all they could talk about, at after-school coffee was this little girl, and luckily most of them, from what I could gather, were really upset at the whole situation, obviously, but more so they thought the teacher was really wrong. They were like, this is ridiculous. Like, she should have said something. She definitely noticed. Like, there's no way she couldn't have noticed, and she should be kind of held responsible a little bit too, because she did nothing. I mean, the little girl was 8. How good was she really at hiding this stuff? She wasn't. I mean, it was a stepmom, so she hadn't been around her whole life. She definitely tried to tell somebody once. She wasn't amazing at hiding stuff, because after she died, people came forward. Oh, we saw bruises. Like, why didn't you do something? I don't know. And also, I guess the teachers at that school had won a volleyball tournament, played against other schools, and I guess, like, a few nights after this little girl was reported dead, they went out to, like, a celebration dinner because they won a volleyball game. And my teachers at my school were hardcore judging them for that. They were like, first of all, they shouldn't have been playing the volleyball game 3 days after one of their students died. Like, at the fault of their negligence. First of all. Second of all, fine, you play because you made a commitment, but you don't go to a celebration dinner while this little girl's father is home grieving and planning her funeral. Like, and, they were really judging them for that too. But yeah, so it's a horrible situation, and it's not going to get fixed anytime soon, because they just got rid of physical punishment in the schools, so they now have to add a part of the homeroom teachers having to care, and I mean, I don't know. So, it wasn't a very fun coffee experience with my co-teachers, but very enlightening, and I thought I would share that with you. Current events. Alright, bye guys.